The two people I loved the most, my wife Emily and my younger brother Jason, stabbed me in the back in the worst way possible. The landlord's secret. The first time Emma saw the house on Willow Lane, she thought it was perfect. Too perfect, really. The Victorian duplex stood at the quiet end of the street, its faded blue shutters and wraparound porch giving it an air of forgotten charm. The rent was suspiciously low for such a spacious place. 2 bedrooms, a fireplace, an actual backyard. But after months of searching, Emma and Jake were desperate to move out of their cramped apartment. When they'd seen the listing online, the photos had looked almost too good to be true. Now, standing in the overgrown front yard with the key in her hand, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that there was a catch. Jake jiggled the key in the stubborn front lock, his breath fogging in. The crisp autumn air. "Stick with me, babe," he said with that easy grin of his, the one that had made her fall for him back in college. "We'll get this place whipped into shape in no time." The lock finally gave with a groan, and the door swung open, revealing a dim interior that smelled faintly of old wood and something else. Something Emma couldn't quite place. Mildew, maybe? Or dust? Or time itself? Sunlight streamed through the bay windows as they stepped inside, illuminating the scuffed hardwood floors and the peeling wallpaper in the hallway. The house had clearly been neglected, but there was something undeniably charming about it. The living room was spacious, with a brick fireplace that looked original to the house. The kitchen, though outdated, had a large farmhouse sink and a window that overlooked the backyard. "It's got potential," Jake said, running a hand along the mantel. Emma nodded, but her attention was caught by the way the floorboards creaked underfoot, the way the light flickered in the hallway. Little things. Things that could be fixed. A throat cleared behind them. Emma turned to see a man standing in the doorway, silhouetted by the afternoon sun. "You must be the Carters." He stepped inside, and the first thing Emma noticed was how he carried himself, like a man who was used to being in charge. Late 50s maybe, with salt and pepper hair and a carefully pressed button down beneath his wool coat. His smile was polite, but his eyes, sharp and assessing, lingered on her. "Just a beat too long. I'm Robert Donovan," he said, extending a hand. "Your landlord." Jake shook it first. "Jake Carter. This is my wife, Emma." Mr. Donovan turned to her, and when his fingers closed around hers, his grip was firm, warm. His thumb brushed lightly over her knuckles before he let go. "Welcome," he said, his voice smooth. "I hope you'll be happy here." Something about the way he said it, the weight behind the words, made the back of Emma's neck prickle. The first few weeks passed without incident. Mr. Donovan was, by all accounts, the perfect landlord. When the kitchen faucet started leaking, he fixed it within hours of her mentioning it. When the porch light flickered, he replaced it before she even had to ask. He was attentive, almost to a fault. And then there were the gifts. A basket of fresh apples appeared on their doorstep one evening. A note tucked between them. From the tree out back. My late wife's favorite. Emma had hesitated before bringing them inside. It was kind, sure, but something about it felt personal. Jake had just shrugged and taken a bite. "Free food," he said, grinning. "Can't complain about that," but Emma couldn't shake the feeling that the gesture wasn't entirely innocent. Then Jake started pulling double shifts at the hospital. The first time Mr. Donovan stopped by when she was alone, Emma was in the garden. Dirt streaked across her knees as she wrestled with stubborn weeds. She hadn't heard him approach. "Need a hand?" His voice startled her so badly she nearly toppled over. "Oh, no. I'm fine," she said, wiping her hands on her jeans. He crouched beside her anyway, his knee brushing against hers. "You've got a real touch with plants," he murmured, plucking a dead leaf from the basil she'd been nursing back to health. His fingers grazed hers. Emma pulled her hand away. He didn't seem to notice. Or, if he did, he didn't care. "You know," he said, voice low, "it's not good for someone like you to be alone so much." Her stomach twisted. "Someone like you?" She forced a laugh. "I'm used to it." Mr. Donovan studied her for a long moment before standing. "Well," he said, brushing dirt from his slacks, "if you ever need company, you know where to find me." And then he was gone, leaving Emma kneeling in the dirt, her heart pounding like she'd just escaped something. The knocking came late. Emma had been dozing on the couch, a book splayed across her chest, when the sound jolted her awake. For a disoriented second, she thought it was Jake. Maybe he'd forgotten his keys. But then she remembered. He was on night shift. He wouldn't be home until morning. The knock came again. Sharper this time. She padded to the door, peering through the peephole. Mr. Donovan stood on the porch, his silhouette haloed by the flickering streetlight behind him. Emma hesitated. It was past 11. "Everything okay?" she called through the door. "Just checking in," he replied, his voice muffled but calm. Saw the lights were still on. Her fingers hovered over the lock. Something in her gut told her not to open it. But politeness won out. The door creaked open, and Mr. Donovan smiled. He held a bottle of wine in one hand. "Thought you might like in some company." Emma's throat went dry. "It's late." "Exactly." His gaze flickered over her, the oversized sweater, the bare legs, the way she'd curled her toes into the rug. "Jake's not here, is he?" It wasn't a question. Her pulse roared in her ears. "I was just heading to bed." He took a step forward. Just one. But it was enough to make her stumble back. "You don't have to be afraid of me, Emma." His voice was soft, almost tender. She swallowed. "I'm not." Liar. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then, finally, Mr. Donovan sighed and took a step back. "Another time then," he said, like it was inevitable. And then he was gone, disappearing into the night. Emma locked the door. Then she checked it again. And again. She told Jake everything the next morning. He listened in silence, his coffee cooling on the table between them. When she finished, his hands were clenched into fists. "We're leaving," he said. Just like that. No arguments. No hesitation. Emma wanted to cry with relief. They packed in a frenzy, throwing clothes into suitcases, leaving behind anything that wouldn't fit in the car. Emma didn't care. None of it mattered. Not the dishes. Not the furniture. Not the damn garden she'd worked so hard on. All that mattered was getting out. Mr. Donovan found them as they were loading the last box into the trunk. Going somewhere? Jake stepped between them. His voice, dangerously calm. "Stay away from my wife." For the first time, Mr. Donovan's mask slipped. His jaw tightened, his eyes darkening with something ugly. But he didn't try to stop them. As they pulled away, Emma didn't look back. They found a new place across town. This landlord was a faceless corporation. No surprise visits, no gifts, no lingering touches. Emma slept easier. But sometimes, in the dead of night, she'd wake to the sound of knocking. And for one heart-stopping second, she'd wonder if he'd found them. Then she'd remember. They were safe now, weren't they?